Well, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Meet the Author. I have Chloe here with me, and we are going to be talking about your newest book that is coming out a week from today, or is it tomorrow? It's the 11th, correct?
Yeah, a week tomorrow.
That's so exciting. Mine doesn't have it's the hardcover edition. It doesn't have the dust jacket because this is too stunning to not show everybody. I'm obsessed with this. That has to be my first question, I guess. I'll do my icebreaker first because I always start these with an icebreaker, but then I immediately have to ask you about this cover because it's stunning. But my icebreaker question for you is, first off, do you watch Netflix?
Yes.
Okay, what is your most binge-worthy show that you're watching on Netflix right now?
I don't have a lot of time to binge watch right now. What was the last thing I binge watched wasn't on Netflix actually. It was a Prime show and it was Vox Machina. So it was the Critical Role animated show that was around everywhere, Dungeons and Dragons. So that was really good. And then on Netflix, probably it was a while ago, but maybe Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that
That was a
show.
really popular one, so totally can understand that. It's just fun question, get people to kind of understand and stuff that you like to watch when you're not, very busy author trying to write books and get things published and out there. But okay, I have to jump back to this. The cover art is stunning on this book, and even inside the book for people who haven't, I guess, seen it yet. I mean, it's throughout this. It is truly breathtaking. So I have to ask, what is your process like for your cover, I guess, designing and how you go about doing that?
For covers. So this is my second series. So my first series, it has the same cover artist as the Under the Dust Jacket artwork of The Stars Are Dying. But because this one was a bit darker and sort of new adult straight off the bat, I wanted an aesthetic cover, so that's why the main cover is like this aesthetic. I only have the paperback here with me. I didn't grab a hardcover, but then I'm a sucker for character art, so I put the character art on the Under the Dust Jacket, and it is also, well, this is the sort of Barnes & Noble one, but that's on the inside page of the paperback as well, but not on the Amazon edition. But my process, I don't know. I just sort of get visions on what I kind of want when I start writing it. And I knew I always wanted the kind of monochrome and gold setting for this one because it is very celestial themed, starry themed, and it is a bit darker. So I wanted it to be a bit more mature. Whereas like my other series is just the character art on the main cover. So yeah, I don't think that really answered the question on my process, but I just go with what kind of vibes with the book, and I think this one does come across as pretty on theme with the celestial sort of theme, and that is a lot to do with the main couple, so that's why they're on the Under the Dust Jacket artwork.
But you're pretty heavily involved, and you said you have a vision of what you want. So you have someone that designs it for you, and then you kind of collaborate back and forth with them and saying, okay, here's my vision, let's bring it to life, kind of, when you're doing this.
Yeah, pretty much. I kind of have like a mood board. I know what the color scheme I want to have for it, and I've been so lucky with the designers that I've worked with. Alice is the artist that does the characters, Alice Maria Power. So I've been working with her since book 1 of An Heir Comes to Rise. So she just gets me. She just takes what I sort of envision and tells me this is what you really want. So she's a genius that way. And then Lila, who did the aesthetic cover of this one, she again took just kind of my loose thoughts and comes up with exactly what I need.
Well, that's incredible. Again, it is stunning. When I first saw it in person, I was blown away by how gorgeous it was and all of the art that was included and everything. I think that's so fun that you want to do that too. There's so many books nowadays that it just has, the more aesthetic cover or has like the characters. But the fact that you put them both together, I think is so cool. And I think people are going to enjoy that so much because so many people want to visualize, and they have it in their head of kind of what they're looking at. But then when you give them, okay, here's what you're looking at, here are the characters, there's no room for interpretation. It's like, here's what I was thinking when I was writing this book. And now you can see like what was putting together. And I love that. That's so cool that you like combine the two in this series to make it happen. So everybody it's like the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I'm a very visual person. So I love putting the details, and there's like things on the cover and on the interior stuff that you just you don't get the concept of until you've read the book and go back and look at them. So I'm a big fan of all the details. I love that.
That's awesome. Well, you kind of mentioned it when you were explaining, wanting the covers, is that this is a little bit more, it jumps right in. It's a little bit more new adult. It's not necessarily more YA type. How was that like for you, changing, kind of going more new adult, I guess, for this series? What was the change in you that you just decided that you wanted to do that when you were writing this book?
I mean, I guess the main theme, it came from having this character from the other series. I mean, the other series it is new adult. It just, you kind of grow with the characters and it gets darker and gets, the spices later on as well. But with this one, because it had a kind of villainous male main character, it was just always going to be that darker kind of vibe. And there is a little bit of spice from the first book in that series. So I really enjoyed it. I'm enjoying the later books in An Heir Comes to Rise series right now because they're kind of like correlating with this one, and I like having that kind of darker vibe. It's good fun.
That's awesome. Well, I have to ask you, because it's obviously very important, how or what inspires you, I guess? I saw one of your most popular TikToks that you have tagged and everything, is that you wanted a series that was the slow burn, epic fantasy romance. And you were like, you know what? The whole audio, I'm just going to do it myself. What was your inspiration kind of just behind going through all of this and the process to be like, you know what? I have this whole story in my head and I'm going to do it. I'm going to write this book series.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't on social media or anything. I wasn't part of any book communities when I started An Heir Comes to Rise series. So that series like totally came from just what I loved. And I'm inspired by so many things. I grew up with a lot of video games like Zelda. There's quite a lot of notes to Zelda in An Heir Comes to Rise, and animation shows like Avatar: The Last Airbender. And then kind of in the mythology side, I think The Stars Are Dying is probably my most, I mean, that is kind of loosely inspired by the Greek myth of Astrea. So I loved getting into the lore of that. So I'm just inspired by a lot of things that I consume, really, media-wise.
Okay. So that's kind of how you just, you take what you're seeing and then you put that into your books and things like that. Well, that's incredible.
Yeah. So I mean, I was an avid reader before, and I've always loved fantasy. I really loved paranormal stuff back then. I read a lot of paranormal romance. Hush Hush was one of my favorite series of all time, and so a lot of the elements like the sort of mind speak and the mates and things like that, and I love slow burn, like give me torturous slow burn. So yeah, I ran with that, and I love long series because I get really invested and obsessed with things. So once I'm in a world, I like don't want to leave it, and that kind of translated to my own work. So yeah, An Heir Comes to Rise is going to be 7 books, and that was kind of where I always wanted to kind of land. And now we have The Stars Are Dying, which can be read on its own, but it does cross over with An Heir Comes to Rise later on. So I do love piecing things together. I love worlds that have notes to other worlds and how you can see in like one person's work how things overlap. I don't think it's like repetitive. It's just like purposeful a lot of the time, and I love things like that.
That's awesome. So you said that, they kind of combine some. So if you have someone who's just, getting introduced to you for the first time, how would you suggest the reading order to go about picking up your series? Would you say for them to start with this one since there's only one book and then to go back? Or is there a specific reading order that you would have in mind to kind of go about reading both your book series?
Yeah, I feel like that's going to be quite the question coming up. But so far, you could read books 1 to, there's 5 books in An Heir Comes to Rise out just now, so you can read books 1 to 5, then read The Stars Are Dying, and then whatever's going to be published next, which should be An Heir Comes to Rise 6, but things change all the time. Basically, publication order is ideal, but you can start with The Stars Are Dying and go back and start An Heir Comes to Rise 1 to 5 and be totally fine. Nothing's going to be spoiled. I think the only time that if you are reading both series that there will be spoilers and you need to read publication order almost is the last 2 books in each series. So we've got a while yet. I think right now you could read them in either order.
Perfect. Because I know, like you said, that's probably going to be a question that starts to come up a lot,
Mhm.
especially I think it's becoming more popular for a few more authors that they're kind of starting to like intermingle series. And so everybody's like, okay, how do we do this? I don't want to
Yeah.
be spoiled, you know? So that's good to
Mhm.
know that you can go if you're, starting off with um, The Stars Are Dying and you want to go jump into that world after that, you're not going to find any spoilers. Or if you've been in that world, and then you come over here, that you get to kind of
Mhm.
see some characters or maybe a few
Yeah.
things kind of intermingling. That's always super exciting when that happens. Well, you was talking about a few other books. So, do you have anything in the works right now? I think later on this year, like you said, you're supposed to, I know you said it changes all the time, but the next book in what, December is supposed to be book 6 for an Air Comes to Rise series?
Yes, it is supposed to be, but I have so many thoughts and plans, and I'm going through some changes right now, and I just yeah, book 6 is it does have its pre-order up. It is supposed to be next, and it is well in the works. Just like a lot things change in the sort of writing process and the editing process where you just I don't want to I don't know. I can't say too much, just in case, but it should be an Air Comes to Rise 6. If not, it would be The Stars Are Dying too. So it would be one or the other of those two. There's nothing like completely new.
Mhm.
Yeah, that could come before.
That's exciting. And you think you'll probably have another one out by the end of this year? Or do you think it might be early next year that we'll see the next of either one of these series?
I'm hoping for December for either an Air Comes to Rise 6 or The Stars Are Dying 2. I'm hoping for December. Yeah.
That's exciting. Well, that will get people a lot of things to look forward to as we could have another book by you this year.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about you're talking about the writing process and everything. Do you prefer to write at home or do you feel like you write better when you go somewhere else? I know some people like to go on like writing retreats and things like that. Where do
Mhm.
you feel like you are the most at peace and able to just sit down and write a book?
Definitely at home. I mean, I haven't really tried a writing retreat or anything. I've just been so at home and just I hardly leave home. But I'm not one to like go to a coffee shop or anything because I feel like when I'm writing, I can get quite animated sometimes. So it's like I don't think I can focus well in a coffee shop. If I do like go out to get some fresh air, I usually do like admin tasks, but writing home for sure.
That's awesome. And if you're not writing, this is a little side thing, and then we'll go back to your books for a second. But when you're not writing, what is your favorite thing to do if you're not actively writing or editing or doing something for one of your books?
I mean, this is where I get the reality check that I haven't done a lot of things since I started publishing. Um, yeah, I just day to night, I'm doing book stuff these days. So, but I did get a new Switch. I am going to be playing Zelda again soon. So I do like video games and reading and watching movies and things. And I think that's about it. Not a
So
very interesting person.
what's a typical day in your life like if you said you're kind of writing all the time? Do you just wake up or do you have like a little morning routine that you like to go through? Or what's kind of walk us through what a normal day in the life is like for you?
Chaos. I'm just a chaos merchant. My day really just depends on what I see in the morning. So I usually I usually get up and if I've got emails or I see something on social media, that just changes the course of my day and I get focused on something else. So I've tried to have a routine or try to get up and plan and do this, that, and then next thing, but it never works out for me. And when it comes to like writing, I have to be doing a lot of things at the same time. So I'm always like writing and then off doing something else and then coming back to it. I have focus issues, I think.
That's awesome. So for your writing, do you feel like I've done a few of these now? And so I hear a very common phrase with authors is that they're either a plotter or a pantser, I think is the other one. Would you
Mhm.
describe yourself as one or the other, or maybe somewhere in between when it comes to your writing style?
I think I've decided that I'm somewhere in between. I don't do a lot of like on paper planning, but I have a lot of plans and the plot is plotted in my head. And a lot of people think that that's crazy and how could you possibly have all that up there? But I have tried to plot in journals or even on whiteboards and things, and it just doesn't really work out for me. So I'm very much probably more on the pantser side. I do just like to draft and see where the story's going to go and then rework it. And it's like I went to see V.E. Schwab talking once in Edinburgh, and she explained it perfectly. She said that it's like she writes chapters and it's like this puzzle piece that she just spills out and then she's got to put it back together. So I do that as well. Like she writes endings first, or she'll write, just different scenes and then fill in the gaps. And I do that a lot, I've discovered. So yeah, somewhere in between.
Okay, I've never heard the whole writing and ending thing first. I feel like that makes sense in my head because it'd be like, okay,
It
you have
does.
to, the different pieces. But as a reader, I'm like, the ending first. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Opposite of what you would normally think and consider, but that makes a lot of sense to be as a writer because you like know where the story's going anyway. So that's makes, plotter pantser. I don't know where I would fall because I barely get through like normal stories in my head. So I think that's incredible that just what you guys are able to do and that you have so many creative things, especially you keep it all in your head and you're not putting it down on paper, and that you just have these huge series too that you just come up with. I mean, it blows my mind. I give so much praise to authors because you guys are incredible with all that you guys do and the time and effort that it takes to put these stories into works. And, readers sometimes I think don't take enough, realize that we sit down sometimes and we'll binge a book and it's like, all right, finish it in 2 days. When's the next one? And you're like, this is half of my year's work. I put a lot of time into this.
It is true, but I also love that. I love hearing when people finish it in a day or two, and I especially love it when they say that they want to reread, and then that's when they start picking up all the other things. So it is very flattering to get told that they've binge read the book, as much as it takes us the best part of a year to put it together. But if it's a book that they love and they want to reread, that is just like the ultimate goal. So yeah, it's good that way. And then they pick up all the other things and it's really fun.
That's awesome. Okay, well, I have a fun game that I kind of like to play with people on here. And it may be a little bit challenging, but if you have some of your books nearby, or we can just say the names and titles of them. But I like to have you try to describe your book in one word, if it's possible.
No.
We can start with The Stars Are Dying. If you could try to describe this in one word, what would be your one word for that one?
I am awful at this kind of game. I feel like my readers would be better at this. I don't know. Listen, my books are like really long. I'm not good at even just the blurb, never mind one word. I don't know.
Celestial could be a good one. You said, I mean, a lot of it is based on that and kind of the names and the maps and everything. I feel like there's a lot of, that could be a good one.
Okay. Yeah.
Mysterious.
If we're going, yeah, there's a lot of mystery in there for sure. One word is too little. Yeah.
It's a hard game to play, I know. That's why I try to do it and just see if people can come up with whatever they can come up with.
This is the worst on the spot question. I'm sweating a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. Mystery and starry almost. I would say celestial. Yeah, there are going to be like celestial beings in it. So I don't want to say like zodiacs. It's not really to do with the zodiac signs, but yeah, there's a lot of star theme in there. So we'll go with that.
I thought it was awesome. I enjoyed it very thoroughly while I was reading it. So I'm going to have to I'm one of those that I am introduced with this book. And so now, saying that I can go back and jump into the other and not be spoiled was great news for me because I know that I'm going to have to jump right back into another series because I think your writing's incredible and everything. So do you want to attempt to maybe we could just do one, we could just do the first one and Heir Comes to Rise if you want to try to do that, or we can move on if you think that may be a little too challenging. I know, again, it's a big series.
Yeah, no, I'm totally stumped because just so much happens even in that first book that I'm wondering how I would even sum up the main character. Yeah, no, I'm terrible at this game. I'm so sorry.
No, hey, it's okay. Again, I haven't really had to ask a fantasy author too much about this yet. Most of the time I've had a few romance or a few thrillers, and so I feel like that's a little bit easy. But fantasy, you have these huge worlds. I can
True.
understand how it's challenging to try to
Yeah.
describe
Did
this
they ever
world.
come up with like? Did they ever summarize it in just like a trope or something?
Sometimes I would have
Mhm.
someone that would just be like,
Mm.
happy or grumpy sunshine, a trope or
Yeah,
something. But
yeah.
it's a lot of times it's been romance people that have been on here, so they're just, it's
Got it.
easy, or I think to find words that way.
Maybe. Maybe.
You're
Yeah.
you have a big series.
Yeah,
It's
even when it comes to tropes, I find it so difficult. The Stars Are Dying is been a bit easier to like market and get the tropes, but and Here Comes to Rise, it has so many tropes in it because it's such a long series, but it's like not like the enemies to lovers and the really easy ones that are like really trending right now. So every time I try to market that book, I'm like, what do I say about this first book? Because it's not as what's widely like popular right now.
Mhm. So for your tropes and things like that, do you have when you're going into it, how you're gonna market it kind of in your head already, or do you wait until the book is like completely written, like you said with The Stars Are Dying? Do you wait until everything's done and said, and then you're looking back and you're like, okay, now how do we market this? Do you like to do it yourself? How is your marketing process going to kind of get this book out there for people to see it?
I think it's a bit of both. I think The Stars Are Dying just has more of a list of tropes that I think are easier to market right now. But I don't really have a process for marketing. It's like when the book was done, it could have been an enemies to lovers book, but it wasn't quite where it went. It turned into like the star-crossed kind of tale, and yeah, I think it like became something a bit more unique that way. But yeah, I don't know. I find it so difficult because tropes really do sell these days. A lot of authors do use tropes for selling, but it's hard to really get the idea of what the story's about with just tropes. But I get why they are, trigger words that get people interested. So I try not to use as many tropes. I like quotes and things, and I really love aesthetic reels and things and artwork. I do get a lot of artwork commissions, so I use that a lot, and I enjoy art very much.
I think that's pretty. I mean, if you go to your TikTok, most of the stuff is like the aesthetic reels and the quotes and everything, which I think is again incredible. And I could understand again with the tropes how it definitely sells, and I see how it sells because people even as a book talker, I sometimes make reels and I'm like, hey, here's fantasy books that are enemies to lovers. Here's one
Yeah.
that's star-crossed. It's just easier to combine that way. But it's like putting a book in a box sometimes trying to
Yeah.
describe it with just one thing when it's like no, it's so much more than just that, and there's so many other elements and things to this that besides that one trope. So I can totally understand why that would be hard to kind of just nail down one specific thing when you have so many other things that are actively involved in the book too. So that makes a lot of sense to me. I have another hard question for you, maybe.
Oh no.
Some people this has not been that hard, but I know it's like asking authors to pick their favorite child. Do you have a favorite character that you've ever written in any of your books?
Favorite character? I mean, I feel like people want me to say the main characters. I love them all for different reasons. Like they're so like every character has such a unique backstory and ways of viewing things, but I think maybe one that I've almost related to a lot, which I don't know what that says about me, is Diana from And Heir Comes to Rise. She is introduced in book 3, but she is very much the anti-hero. She's the darker character, but she has a lot of internal struggles to get through. And while she is pretty ruthless, she's also been told that she can't feel, but she feels a lot. And writing her kind of story has been great. So I really love her for that reason. So yeah, I might stick with Diana, but I of course love my main characters. Well, they're all main characters to me, so I love them all for different reasons, and they really are pretty strong characters. So yeah, I hope that
Okay.
answers that.
Well, yeah. And then the slightly harder question, do you have a favorite book that you've written so far?
I mean, I get better with every new book, so I feel like it's natural to say the next book that's coming out in the next book because the craft is always getting better. Um, I don't think I have a favorite book, if I'm genuinely honest. I have a lot of favorite moments in each of the books, so they're all favorites for different reasons. Um, yeah, I don't think I have a favorite because I really look forward to specific moments that I've had planned for so long, and they end up in lots of different books, and especially like further into like a deep series like An Heir Comes to Rise. Yeah, I get to finally reveal things and tie things. So the later books are maybe more of my favorites. Yeah.
Okay. And I know we're getting a little bit closer to the end of this, so I want to talk a minute just about your newest book and give it the most attention, The Stars Are Dying. If you could describe this, not in one word, but to give people kind of what they're going into and what they're jumping into with this new series of yours, if you want to kind of explain that for a second, just if someone's getting ready, they're walking into the bookstore, they want to pick up this book, what can they expect when they go into reading this new world that you've introduced them to?
Sorry, I talked getting comfortable back there. So the Stars Are Dying was loosely based on the Greek myth of Astraea, but we kind of start out with her with fragmented memories of only 5 years, and it's all about her kind of wanting to break free of her situation with her captor of sorts, and she gets that opportunity when to accompany best friend Cassia to the Central Kingdom, where there are these trials hosted for one of the kingdoms to gain safety from the sort of blood and soul vampires that are terrorizing the humans right now. And Astraea ends up needing to take the place of one of the participants, and that's kind of the second half of the book, is these sort of deadly sins based trials, and Astraea in the center of them. But there is just a lot more than meets the eye. It is a romantasy, of course, so she meets Knight very early on, and he's kind of this presence that she doesn't know if she is selling her bargain to one of the vampires she's supposed to fear, or if he's there to help. So there is the whole mystery with him, and just a lot to unfold about what happened to her and what is happening truly in that world.
Very exciting. And again, I love this book. I am so excited now to jump into your other series because I think it was incredible. And it comes out July 11th, so next Tuesday. And where can people find the book now if they want to pre-order it or they want to go to order it? Where is it best and mostly available for people who are like, all right, I want to get this book?
Any major retailer, really. I think for hardcover in particular, I've heard that Barnes and Noble are more reliable for fulfilling, especially pre-orders and things. There's just Amazon always has issues. So if you can't get it on Amazon, definitely check out Barnes and Noble or Waterstones. And the paperback will be up for release day, and it'll be on Kindle Unlimited and Kindle as well.
So exciting. And I'm just so excited for so many people to jump into this world and get to know more things about your characters and introductions to your writing. And then obviously find out that you have even more books if they didn't know that you have a whole other series that is in the works. And I'm just very thankful again that you were able to come and talk today. Where can people find you on all of your socials, I know you have a big TikTok presence and other places. Where can people best find you if they're like, okay, I need to follow her. I need to see all of the reels. I need to see all of the quotes, and they want all that good stuff.
Yeah, TikTok or Instagram, my user is just at Chloe C. Penaranda. And yeah, I'm mostly just active on TikTok and Instagram. We do have a Facebook reader group, and there is a reader Discord. But for me, TikTok and Instagram.
That's so exciting. Well, thank you again so much for coming on today. I had so much fun having you on here. And again, if you want to order this book, it'll be July 11th, so a week from today, I guess, because I'll be posting this tomorrow on Tuesday. So July 11th, you can get this book. You can go pre-order it now, or you can go to all of the available places, Kindle Unlimited and other things. And thank you again so much, Chloe, for coming on here. I had so much fun with you today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I had a great time.
Awesome. And you guys make sure that you are subscribed because we have author interviews all the time on here, Michaela's Book Nook. And until the next time we have a Meet the Author, you guys have a great day. See ya.